I love hearing other people's associations with what they see. I've heard cocoa pod, I've heard starfruit. It does kind of look like some sort of seed pod, some giant seed pod. I think it moves like a jellyfish, kind of has this like rhythmic breathing element. And I've heard people find that really calming. My showcase project for the UAL Postgrad Showcase was called Plant Speak. And it was really about trying to convey how plants actually communicate. And so I made this costume of kelp to kind of conceptualize these plant volatiles that are essentially its communication. Kelp is a type of seaweed. It's a brown seaweed, and what I used in particular came from Japan, and it was a ma kombu variety, so often used in cooking. And the more I learned about seaweeds and kelps, I learned that they're considered the ancestor of plants. So I thought, what better way to feature the oldest plant communicator than kelp? So I ended up using that as my primary material and ordered this ma kombu variety because it came in wide widths, between 10 and 20 centimeters. In the meantime, I didn't have that kelp. I was waiting for it to come, and so I ended up testing with a bunch of store-bought kombu, those just dried seaweed packs that you can get. I did a bunch of tests with the seaweed to find out how I could strengthen it. The treatment technique I use with glycerin and water ends up making it into a leather-like hand, but it still can be torn quite easily. So I did a lot of tests to find what other adhesives, what other backing materials, what other seam binding techniques can I use, with minimal environmental impact and non-toxic. So there's a lot of that kind of material exploration. Once I got the seaweed, essentially, I cut out over 100 pieces of patterns that I had from the kelp, and then I also did that with abaca, which is a banana fiber. That was what I used to back it. And then I used PVA, that was the best, and essentially glued those together to create the material. And then from there, I made all of this bias binding out of cellulosic paper leather, which is a mix of cellulose and latex, and it's like a thick paper essentially. And I hand folded all of these bias bindings and then attached those bias bindings to 2 pieces of kelp to make this pleat. I had 76 of those. And then I would sew them together with the industrial sewing machine, essentially going along each binding. The one aspect of the making process was that I hand punched holes into the surface of the kelp in a pattern of braille that reads a quote from this plant scientist, Monica Galliano. "We breathe each other in and out of existence, one made by the exhalation of the other." And I thought that was really powerful because it speaks to the truth that we're constantly exchanging our breath, and for plants, these volatiles, and that we are intrinsically linked to these other species. And when you see the costume illuminated, these light beams project out of the costume surface, and those are what are symbolizing the plant volatiles for the costume. There's a lot of ways kelp can be used within costume and apparel, and what I'm excited about is just seeing how many opportunities there are. So there's, textile producers that are using it more as a way to, make an oil and then extrude it and make a fiber, which I think is an amazing opportunity for scaling and putting kelp and seaweeds into more of the fashion and textile industry. My hope is that I can recreate this and maybe explore new shapes, but use UK kelp and actually amplify this emerging industry here that is really important actually for ecosystems and habitat restoration and carbon sequestration, and I think it'd be nice to have a costume that helps amplify that.